guys? Welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an article titled, "Is Modern Feminism the Best Thing to Happen to Men?" Hell no. The case for feminism and where it all went wrong. And guys, this article is written by a woman, and contrary to what the title says, is not actually what she meant. This whole thing actually is about her, in her view, and which I agree with, that modern feminism is a complete mess, complete train wreck, caused so many of the problems that we're experiencing in our society today, and her addressing that. And she's going to start in with some elements about how it all started, traditional feminism, which in her opinion was supposed to be, and I'm emphasizing supposed to be, a positive thing. However, what things have devolved into over the years is what we have nowadays, and the impact it's had on society. I mean, it's just, how many times have I talked about this subject, how unfortunately nowadays, as many of you guys are well aware, men have been reduced to be almost like second-class citizens in so many areas. I mean, look how men are portrayed in movies, television, in the music, in the media, the whole nine yards. Look how men are treated in the family courts, etc., etc. You know, and look what the impact of modern feminism has done on our society. The destruction of the nuclear family, how decades ago with the S-word revolution to encourage the gals to go out and be free spirits and do whatever you want. Look what that's caused nowadays, right? I mean, you open your eyes, you can see all around you. And I might add, the newest thing over the last 10 years is the attempt to try to make the genders equal. Not just about equal rights and feeling safe and all that and opportunities, but actually equal, where they're trying to have it molded in through the media and television and movies and the schools to encourage the boys to embrace their feminine side, be soft and cry and all these types of things that are feminine in nature, and encourage the girls to be more masculine and essentially act like men. So you have more men nowadays acting very feminine and more women nowadays acting more masculine. And is any wonder that that's one component why none of them want to have anything to do with each other and they're turned off by each other. It's a big freaking mess. I mean, I've had women that I know, friends of mine, because I do have some women that are friends, that know what I do. They don't always like or agree with what I say, but I've had some mention saying that, yeah, you know what, they've noticed, now that they know what I talk about, that a lot of guys under the age of 35 are just so feminine and girly and soft. That's the best word to describe it, soft, unlike what they grew up with. And so this is a result of what you have. But anyhow, guys, she's going to get into this here. And obviously, I like what she talks about, some of these things, the problems it's caused, the division, etc., etc. So I'm going to get into this. Starts off, it says, I recently heard a man claim that modern feminism is the best thing that has happened to men. I was surprised to say the least. His argument was that modern feminism has either made it easier for men to access gals or significantly harder for men to access women. The first camp is the Chads and Tyrones. They're getting all the commitment-free sex that they want. In other words, thanks to the feminist movement and modern feminism, you can't be a strong, empowered gal unless you're hooking up every guy in town. And those guys usually are the Chad and Tyrone types. So Chad and Tyrone are making out like bandits with this type of scenario here. The second camp is the average Joes. They're the 90% of men who are invisible to women. But this works in their favor, too, because it forces them to get out in the world and better themselves. Well, unfortunately, many aren't doing that either, because they've been conditioned, all the effort's been put in the girls in the schools, and the guys have been conditioned to be more feminine and not embrace their masculine side, which usually is about achieving goals, kicking butt in the world, conquering, if you will. So they're not doing that either. This argument got me thinking, does feminism actually benefit men? No. The case for feminism. If it weren't for traditional feminism, I wouldn't be writing on this platform. I wouldn't have a bachelor's degree or my own credit card. I wouldn't have the opportunity to pursue any career I want, to own property, to marry who I want, or if I wanted to get married at all. As a woman myself, I can appreciate the traditional feminist sentiment of affording both men and women certain rights and dignities. I'm all for freedom and rights and dignities. Don't get me wrong. Those are positive elements, okay? But what we have today, what we've had for quite some time, is a mess. The shifts that took place in society decades ago have allowed women to exist as individuals apart from the husband or father in order to comfortably live in our world. The demands of traditional feminism to value women as equally important contributors to society have improved the lives of women and men alike. Whether it be to the context of voting rights, education, finances, marital expectations, or career opportunities, traditional feminism has enabled women to use their talents and intellect to improve our world in meaningful ways. This benefits everyone. Well, some of those can be up for debate here, to be honest. And she says, where it all went wrong. Modern feminism is another story. From self-abuse masquerading as freedom to the sheer lack of personal accountability, ding, 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 radical feminism has caused so much hostility and division, especially between men and women. There you go. That's exactly what's been going on. That's what's going on now. That's what's been going on. You know, a lot of people have issues with a lot of channels like mine. And where do you think, what caused that? What caused guys to start talking about problems that are in our society and things that are going on, and open up and say there are issues here, and here are how things really are, guys? This modern feminism. You know, there's a lot of channels on YouTube with guys talk about these things and have different opinions, and a lot of them have different takes on things. But it seems like if there's one thing that all these channels do agree on, the one thing. Two things, actually. One, self-improvement, but the other thing is this. The damage is caused by modern feminism. Okay, but I would say that's the number one thing, then the self-improvement element for guys to do better for themselves. He says, modern feminism has twisted both femininity and masculinity into something ugly. While these two forces were meant to work in harmony for the greater good of society, we're constantly told that they are in opposition. Exactly. Well, it's a divide and conquer situation. You know, you guys have heard for years the complaining about so-called toxic masculinity, and which is a bunch of steaming pile of crap. I'm not for anything toxic that's harmful, but traditional masculinity, these are good things, okay? As is you can call it traditional femininity, okay? Men that were acting like masculine men, not bullies, nothing like that, not harmful, but embracing good traditional masculine traits, and women that are traditionally feminine. They worked in harmony, yes. But somebody had an idea, they didn't like that very much, someone that was very vocal, someone that probably you could question their sexuality, and decided, oh, you know, I don't like this. I'm going to start raising holy hell and manipulating the masses. And let's be honest, most of the masses are sheep, so they can be easily misled and manipulated. And one thing led to another, what we have today. And it's a big mess. It says here, radical feminism gets the idea that men and women are natural enemies. Men are so-called abusers and women are so-called victims. Men are so-called oppressors and women are so-called oppressed. You get the idea. With a mentality like this, no wonder everybody is so angry at each other. Well, those that are pushing for all this, they like the division, they like the turmoil, they benefit from that. This hostility between men and women today is especially apparent in the dating world. Men are angry that we, women, won't date them. Our expectations are too high and we're only interested in chasing chads. Well, that's pretty much how it is. Let's be honest here. I mean, I did a story about that yesterday about a dating coach who said in his years of practice, it's worse than ever with people, these ridiculously high expectations and ridiculous self-value, what they're worth. And it goes both ways, men and women, you know. But women, in my opinion, do it way more than guys. There are plenty of guys out there that think that they're entitled to 9s and 10s, and it's like, have you looked in a mirror, dude? Okay, you're 300 pounds, or you still live at home with your mom. You think you're going to get a 9 or a 10? But anyhow, but how many stories are done with these gals? They're aiming for the top percentage of guys, when that's just not going to happen because mathematically it's impossible, and they themselves are average, you know. And then you get my point. He said, men are angry that divorce laws are unapologetically biased in favor of women. Marriage just doesn't seem worth the hassle anymore. It's the truth. The family courts do benefit men, and they have done that for some time, and it's ridiculous. And marriage is a hassle. It doesn't benefit guys, okay? Some people say, well, you get the tax breaks, or you save on insurance. Well, what are you going to pay? What about the money that's spent on the divorce? When over 60% of marriages end in divorce. What about all the money? You may save money together being married on taxes, on your taxes or insurance, but what about how you're going to get hit hard down the road through the divorce? Because the odds are she'll get the house, she'll get a very large alimony. The kids will probably go to her. How about also the money during the marriage? A guy on his own doesn't need a whole lot to be happy, but generally the bigger houses are because of the wives. The more expensive schools for the kids, if it can be done, are because of what the wives want. The more expensive cars, the vacations, the this, the that, is because the women generally are the bigger spenders. So it really doesn't benefit guys. Okay, yeah, you can save some on your married filing jointly or on the insurance, but does it really benefit? And typically when people get married, if they were hooking up left and right before and having a lot of fun, the second that ring goes on the finger, the sex slows down, if not comes to a screeching halt. It's a stereotype, but it's really dead on the money. Anybody who's been married knows this is true. And because a lot of women get the idea that once they're married, they got to do this, this, and this because society says so. And again, people are sheep, most people, so they're going to do what they think they're supposed to do. So it really doesn't benefit anybody. It benefits the women, but not the guys. Men are angry because women seem to only want guys with money. Men are tired of being used as a meal ticket. Well, there's a lot of truth to that, but then again, in today's world, everything being equal, then they can be meal tickets too, because women do very well nowadays. They can have high level jobs in different companies and so forth, make darn good money. It really is true. And if men are allowing themselves to be meal tickets, well, that's also their fault too, which is why I tell guys not to do that. Men are frustrated by the lack of personal accountability placed on women and the unfair blame placed on men for just about everything. Right. How many times have I joked about the whole joke about the gals and accountability? Good luck there. How many stories have I done where not necessarily it was said, but the action shown demonstrated that? And yeah, but men get all the blame, and we have to be accountable for it. But you know what? Everybody should be accountable for their actions, but you get my point. It's just men are angry, and sometimes they have a right to be. No, a lot of time we have a right to be. She says, women are angry too. Women are angry that we can't find a man who meets our standards. Well, when your standards are absurd, completely ridiculous to what you bring to the table, and just in general, then don't be angry. But these unrealistic expectations, and where do these unrealistic expectations come from? Think about it. Women are angry because men won't commit to us and seem to only be interested in chasing the younger, prettier girls. Well, men aren't committing because they realize how things are nowadays. They realize what can happen if they commit. They realize what happens if they get married and how they can be hammered. I'm not saying every case. There are exceptions, but generally it's a mess. And as for chasing the younger, prettier girls, well, you can't get mad at men for naturally being attracted to and wanting to get the younger, prettier girls when men aren't allowed to be frustrated when the gals are kicking good guys to the curb that do well for themselves, but they're not millionaires and with their own private jets and yachts. And when the gals chase after that small top 5% of guys, so it goes both ways. Women are angry because men are only after one thing, and putting out seems to be the only way to keep a guy's attention, and even then it might not work. Well, last time I checked, women like the sex too, so I don't want to hear that. She says, women are angry, and sometimes we have the right to be. Is there a solution to the chaos? If there is, it starts with men and women working on themselves as individuals. I say that all the time, working on yourselves. And also being aware and looking at the big mess and trying to look past all the BS that's being put out there. It starts with developing realistic expectations for ourselves and for others. Amen. It starts with realizing that getting laid or getting attention isn't what actually makes a person of value. Well, guys enjoy getting some, don't get me wrong, but so do women too. And as for, she says, getting attention, and we know who she's referring to as well, yeah. Look at it nowadays. I mean, just how many gals have you guys known, particularly ones in their teens and 20s and 30s, that are on social media? Instagram, TikTok, God forbid, OnlyFans, and up there shaking their asses and doing whatever to get attention, okay? What that does. Any guy is watching this that's dating a girl and she does that, I'd walk. Because it's only going to bring you trouble, because that's not going to stop that attention seeking. It starts with acknowledging that you can't blame an entire gender for all your problems. So is feminism the best thing to happen to men? The short answer, no. Traditional feminism has its merits, but modern feminism, not so much. While a few men, the top 10%, may enjoy easy access to the gals, it only results in increased resentment and hatred in the dating market overall. I've been talking about this a long time. And while women may think they enjoy the S-word liberation and men are trash messaging of modern feminism, it really does nothing to better their dating lives or the quality of their relationships. Yes, this whole trashing of men are the devil, blah, blah, blah. On that basis, the more and more the female population is manipulated into that, and a lot are, sadly, you're going to have a lot of guys saying, hey, I'm going to be walking away, as many are, and there's going to be no marriages, there aren't going to be as many kids, and this is kind of what we have today. And sadly, it's going to take a while for it to, it's going to get worse before it gets better. But I do my part, reading articles, talking about what's going on, providing a platform. Well, YouTube provides a platform, but I do the channel here, and guys are allowed to actually talk to each other in the comment section, and it's a really cool thing here. All you guys comment, and I've noticed a lot of you guys, it's almost like some of you guys are acquainted with each other through these things, and you talk, share ideas around the world, and it helps guys. And while women may think they enjoy the S-word liberation and men are trash messaging, I read that part, feminism must get back to its roots of equality and not blame if it aims to improve the relationship between the genders. Until then, there will always be division. Correct. And I gotta say this, I know multiple women that are in their late 30s, mid 30s up to 40s that have wanted to have a guy to marry, have kids and all that, and guess what? They don't have that, and they're deeply upset and oftentimes break down. Some have tried the in vitro route of having a kid through medical science and all that, and these were the gals that were damn good looking girls in their prime, and they're still good looking women in their 30s and 40s for their age. But you know what they all have in common? They were all psychotically picky. They had this ridiculous sense of their value. And now they're upset and crying and everything. They're alone and say there's, that men don't want to settle down. Or I've heard that, we're all the real men. It's like, there are plenty of great men. You just have been so damn picky amongst many other things. So it's a mess amongst don't get me started about how so many single parent households there are there right now. And it's been shown it's been proven that kids benefit better with two parents in the house. They do better in school. They get in less trouble, yada, yada. So what we have is a big freaking mess. So until things go back to the more traditional route, this is what we got. But I try to help guys do my part, etc., etc. And we'll see how things go in 50 years when I'm 94 years old man. Will it be worse? Will it be better? Hopefully it's better. We shall see. If we haven't blown each other up to bits by then. So, or YouTube has kicked me off. All right, guys, that is it for today. That was a good one there. It's nice to hear a woman doing an article pointing out the problems with the modern feminism, okay? And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.